Welcome to State of the State. We're here today to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month. Why do we need to foster mental health awareness, especially among youth? These statistics point to why. In fact, 1 in 5 teens and adolescents live with mental health conditions. 50% of all mental illnesses begin by age 14 and 75% by age 24. The most common illnesses of childhood and adolescence are mental health disorders: anxiety, depression, eating disorders, ADHD, etc. And yet, adults often don't know what to say to youth, and youth don't know who to turn to for help. So how do we cultivate resilience? Today, we talk with 2 youth leaders about their efforts to promote youth mental well-being in their communities. I'm Susan Orban, and I am your host for today's show. I'm the coordinator of the Washington County Coalition for Children, a regional child advocacy organization in southern Rhode Island. And I'm so excited to be joined here today by 3 youth leaders who not only are members of the Coalition's Youth Advisory Council, but are members of their school's peer-to-peer program. These leaders are Gleason, a sophomore at Chariho High School, Rylie Whitten, a sophomore at the Prout School, and Sara Clarke, a freshman at South Kingstown High School. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really wonderful to have you here. So to give you a little background about the peer-to-peer program, the Chris Collins Foundation has been implementing peer-to-peer mental health awareness program in middle and high schools across Rhode Island since 2018. The Collins family founded the foundation in honor of their son who sadly died by suicide. Despite his own anxiety and depression, Chris was very supportive of his peers, and so there was no better honor for the family than to bring the peer-to-peer program to Rhode Island. This evidence-based program, developed by the Eisenberg Family Depression Center at the University of Michigan, aims to raise awareness and reduce the stigma surrounding mental health among teens. So Rylie, can you explain more about how peer-to-peer works and why you chose to be involved with it?
So peer-to-peer is a student-led club that helps spread mental health awareness and reduce the stigma surrounding mental health. Members of peer-to-peer help create a supportive environment for students who may be seeking help for their mental health but are unsure of who to turn to or are too afraid to talk to adults. Peer-to-peer also helps bring awareness to resources to help your mental health. I got involved because mental health advocacy is something that I feel very passionate about, and mental health is an issue that often goes unrecognized in school systems.
So true. So, Brenden, why did you get involved?
I got involved because Mr. Collins reached out to my father, who he's friends with, in 8th grade and was asking if I would like to join the peer-to-peer club. And at first I was a little skeptical about it, but now I am glad I joined it and am fully into it.
That's great. So you became involved when you were a middle schooler. What about you, Sara?
Similar to Brenden, when I was in middle school, I was interested in learning more about my own and my peers' mental health, so I joined peer-to-peer.
That's wonderful. So I wonder if you might explain to our viewers what kinds of activities your clubs have been up to this year. So Rylie, let's start with you. What is your club doing at Prout?
At Prout, peer-to-peer spreads mental health awareness by hosting Feel Good Fridays about once every month. Feel Good Fridays are a table set up in the cafeteria that pass out little fidgets or share inspiring messages about mental health or bring attention to different mental health disorders. Peer-to-peer also posts inspiring messages around the school during holidays or on social media. And we also have our annual Chalk It Up, which is when each student gets a square of chalk on the school sidewalk and draws a picture or a message related to mental health awareness. And the Chalk It Up at our school is actually occurring this Friday.
That's great. I can't wait to see those drawings. That sounds like a really fun event. So what about you, Brenden? What's happening at Chariho?
We have brought some speakers in from URI to speak to our seniors about their mental health journey and how they went through it and fought through it in ways they got their mental health to a better place. And we've also been going into lunches as well to raise awareness for mental health and kind of show what our campaign is about.
Terrific. And Sara, South Kingston?
Recently, we had our Puppies Pizza and Movie Night where we had therapy dogs come in, and we got to watch Inside Out 2 with members of our community, and we got pizza. And similar to Rylie, we are hosting our Chalk It Up event in 2 weeks.
That's terrific. So in your work with peer-to-peer, what are you most proud of? Rylie, do you want to jump in?
I am most proud of how much the club has grown throughout the past 2 years. Peer-to-peer at Prout was started last year by a senior named Ella Martin, who is also part of the Youth Action Council. And even though it was originally pretty difficult getting the club officially recognized in the school and promoting the club, we've been able to grow very much in number. And I'm also very proud of how successful the Chalk It Up has been.
That's great. Brenden?
We have been, my proudest moment was probably gaining close to 75 followers in one day at a lunch. We went into lunches and shared our peer-to-peer Instagram where we kind of explain what we are as a club and post inspirational quotes and quotes to make your mental health better. And it kind of shows the traction we've been able to gain in the school in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's terrific. Sara?
Similar to Rylie also, how successful our club has grown to be, not only in the high school but at the middle school level too. We have many members and we promote not only in our schools but in our community too, mental health awareness.
That's wonderful. So what appealed to you about getting involved with the Coalition's Youth Advisory Council? Rylie?
I am very passionate about spreading mental health awareness, and I thought that the mission of the Youth Advisory Council was very important. And also, as I said when I was explaining what peer-to-peer was, mental health often goes unrecognized within school communities. And it is an issue that some people, especially adults, don't understand the severity of and the importance within youth.
Sure, no question. So last year, the Youth Advisory Council worked with advisors from the University of Rhode Island to identify issues raised by 40 area youth in focus groups. And the council then took the themes identified to create a 4-part action plan for mental well-being, which was released at a Youth Mental Health Summit last May. So Sara, can you walk us through, since you were part of that planning process, part 1 of that action plan, which is about controlling social media, a very hot topic.
I would love to. Last year in focus groups, before we got together to create our summit, we discussed social media and how it's an issue amongst teens. Because of the algorithm and stuff being posted, it can really affect kids' mental health, and we talked about how we want to moderate it more and we want to create more rules to help teens and their mental health.
That's awesome. There's no question the impact of social media, for both good and not good, is certainly there. And it's great to hear young people recognizing those challenges and putting forth action steps to deal with it. So thanks for that explanation. Part 2 of the action plan is about relieving pressures and expectations. So Brenden, can you explain what the council proposed to do to address that one?
Yeah, of course. So teen stress is a big issue. There are many expectations placed upon us that I feel negatively affect our mental health, and sometimes it can become too much. And some ways we recommend this is to lower your expectations for yourself. So when you do achieve those expectations and goals, you feel better about yourself and feel prouder of yourself.
That's great. No question. Sometimes we put a lot of that pressure on ourselves.
Without a doubt, yes.
Yeah, for sure. So part 3 of the action plan is supportive environments. Rylie, what is meant by that?
So supportive environments are spaces where teens feel seen and heard by adults, but ultimately have control and autonomy over their own actions. The Youth Advisory Council wants to address how adults in our community can take a step back while also showing love and support to the teens in their lives.
So my understanding is that you've organized a second Youth Mental Health Summit this May, happening actually next week, to focus more on youth-driven spaces. And Steve Heath from Fab Newport will be your keynote speaker. Brenden, can you tell us more about what you have planned for this year's summit and how people can register for the event?
Yes, so as you mentioned, the summit is scheduled for next Monday, May 19th, and it will be from 6 to 8 p.m. at 170 Avidician Hall at the University of Rhode Island. The event is free and open to the public, although space is limited with 158 seats. We invite everyone who cares about youth to attend. To register, go to ymhsummit/eventbrite.com or the Coalition's website at washcokids.org. In addition to our keynote speaker, Steve Heath, we will also have a panel discussion with youth leaders and allies to talk about how to establish trusting relationships and how to step back and allow youth to lead.
That's wonderful. So to get back to the action plan, part 4 of the action plan is about education and awareness. So what strategies does your action plan outline to address this need, Sara?
We want to educate the adults in our life. Adults don't always understand what mental health looks like in youth, and we want them to further and better their education on it through this summit and through other opportunities given through the summit. For peer-to-peer students, we are all invited to a field trip at the beginning of the year to URI to learn about mental health and how to create our action plans through our clubs. Through our clubs, we are able to educate not just the youth, but the adults in our life too.
Wow, that's great. Well, you point out a really important piece, which is that, and it's something that I mentioned earlier, about how the adults don't always know what to do, and they need educated as to how they can best help the young people in their lives. Yeah, so it's great that you're going to focus on that at the summit. So to me, the best part of this plan is that it's youth-driven. You guys all worked with your peers to come up with this plan. It's not devised by adults who work with youth and observe what the youth might be experiencing, but by youth themselves who are experiencing challenges right now. Too often I have to sit in on meetings or participate in work groups where it's the adults deciding what they think youth need based on their work with them. And this is so different because it's based on your real life experiences. So I'm curious about what being youth-driven looks like. And I want our viewers to understand more about that. Can someone share an example of a time when an adult supported your leadership without taking over? Yeah, go ahead, Rylie.
My mom is the perfect example of being an adult in a youth-driven space. She helps run the peer-to-peer program in my school. She supports us and helps our ideas come to life while leaving the creative part up to us. And she's also a really good mediator between students and administrators if we ever need more support from the school.
That's awesome. I see a lot of head nodding going on here. So do you want to jump in, Brenden?
Oh, I'd love to. So I feel like a youth-driven space looks like something where the youth take the lead and are able to kind of advise what they want to do and create the ideas. But the adults in the room can also prod the youth along. And I think a perfect example of that is the peer-to-peer program. I think, especially at Chariho, the youth, the students are able to kind of come up with ideas what we want to do and bring it to the school leadership. And the adults, like Dr. Otteson, the school psychologist, is able to help us enact that action plan.
Excellent. So they really support you without taking over.
Yes, exactly.
Sara.
Similar to Brenden and Rylie and our peer-to-peer, our teacher, Miss McCrell, she's a perfect example of what leading a youth-driven space looks like. She's great at stepping back and taking the role on like the back side of the wheel and not the front, where we can do everything we want while she supports us and gets us the help we need.
That's great. One of the things I've heard you talk about is how challenging it can be for adults to not take over, and it's hard to understand that middle ground and how you can provide consultation without taking over. And you guys gave some good examples of what that looks like. So thank you for that. So my understanding is that this is the 100th anniversary of the phrase teenager. Hence the term the centennial. So as a result, the Smithsonian asked the Museum of Contemporary American Teenagers to highlight youth culture at their annual Folklife Festival in July. So the coalition is joining in this national celebration with our own events this year, which you guys are going to be leading. So, and the summit is the first of the centennial events planned. So, for a little background, in 1925, renowned anthropologist Margaret Mead traveled to American Samoa to study adolescence, to study whether adolescence was universally traumatic and stressful due to biological factors, or whether the storm and stress among teenage girls in the United States was unique to American culture. Mead observed adolescence was not a stressful time for girls in Samoa because Samoan culture and parenting practices were very different from those in the United States. Her findings revealed that teens can thrive when they're supported, heard, and understood. In fact, teens have shown this to us over and over in history. So, and I think the three of you are great examples of that, in fact. So what do you wish adults knew about mental health and the realities of teen life today? Brenden?
I wish adults kind of knew that how hard it is to balance school while also doing activities. I believe it's difficult, and that adults should also give teens more grace in that regard.
Great. Rylie, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wish adults knew that mental illness isn't something you can just snap out of. There are real brain illnesses that oftentimes take professional help to treat, and pressure to just feel better won't help and will only make the situation worse and make a teen feel more alone.
Thank you for that. Sara?
I wish adults understood it's a different time now. When they were growing up, it was a lot different to how it is now with all the external and internal pressures and social media. And I wish they better understood that.
That's great. So, building on that theme, what kinds of support do you think kids most want to see from adults?
I believe that kids, especially kids our age, would like to see an adult that is passionate and also caring, while not also being overbearing and kind of telling them what they have to do.
Great. Any other thoughts?
Adults need to try to understand and have empathy for their kids and their struggles. The worst thing an adult can do is judge.
No
Definitely.
question about that. Yeah. Sara?
I agree completely with Brenden and Rylie. I can't add any more to that.
Great. So if you had the power to make any change to improve youth mental well-being, what would that one change be? Sara, you want to jump in?
If I had the power to create any change, I would create a space for youth, an adult for every youth, so they would have a safe space where they can talk to someone they trust.
That's great. Rylie?
I would eliminate the pressures teens face in their daily lives, both athletically, academically, and in any other extracurriculars or activities that they may pursue.
Great. What about you, Brenden?
I believe that, or I would change the stigma that surrounds youth mental health and mental health in general. I believe that the stigma that surrounds mental health prevents a lot of people from seeking help to improve their well-being.
No question about it. So what do you do in your life to support your mental well-being? Sara?
In my life, I like to create routines because for me, routines help me function. And I like to make sure I carve time out of my life to have like fun time where I can do what I want and not just what I have to do.
That's terrific. What about you, Rylie?
Similar to Sara, I also have routines that help me move through my day and help me find time to kind of sit with my thoughts and kind of reflect on my day or get ready for my day. But I also spend quality time with my family and friends and spend time outdoors and find hobbies that I can relax and unwind while doing, such as listening to music, running, reading, or doing arts and crafts.
That's terrific. Okay, Brenden.
I talk to my family a lot, and I also hang out with my friends a lot, and I do sports and read and do hobbies that I enjoy.
Excellent. So as trained peer-to-peer counselors, if you knew a youth who was struggling with a mental health challenge, what would you say to them? Brenden?
I would just tell them to kind of break through the stigma and don't worry about what others think about you, and just try to get help to improve your well-being.
I see that you are nodding your heads over there. Rylie, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would tell them to hold on to hope, even when times are the hardest. And I would also tell them about certain resources that they could turn to and establish myself as a trusted, non-judgmental friend that they could always turn to.
That's great. Sara?
I would establish that I might not know exactly what they're going through, but I'm there every step of the way to help them get help that they need.
That's wonderful. There's no question that when people are struggling, they need someone by their side. That's just so important. So what do you think the best outcome will be from the upcoming Youth Mental Health Summit?
I think the best outcome would be an outcome where adult leaders in our community are able to implement our ideas and really change the way youth mental health is perceived and mental health in general is perceived.
And who needs to be there to hear the message, do you think?
Teachers, coaches, administrators, mental health professionals, parents, any friends who want to come and kind of see what the teens in their life are passionate about or are facing, they're all welcome.
That's great. So one of the things that I know you've have planned in your action steps is to begin to educate superintendents and town leaders about your action plan and the steps that they can take to support and implement the action plan. And one of the things you're going to be working on this summer are some podcasts and videos and so forth. So do you have thoughts about what kinds of topics you might want to dive into with those podcasts?
I believe that one topic that I think I feel strongly about is kind of how youths can strive to be their best, and even when they're struggling, how to get help and how to maintain their best, how they look and how others perceive them, because I think that how others perceive you is greatly affects kind of like first impressions and stuff, and even when you're struggling, to try to present yourself in the best light.
Excellent. Other ideas?
I would also really like to discuss small ways that you can help your mental health throughout the day, such as breathing exercises, little things you can do when you're stressed, some like calming activities, and just have each of our members of the group kind of discuss, similar to how we discussed in this interview, how they take care of their mental health, steps that have worked for them.
No question. We need to have a variety of tools and a toolbox for our well-being that we can draw upon when we need it. Sara, I see you smiling and anxious to dive into this conversation. What would you add?
I would love to discuss how to help find students, peers, friends, and even yourself a place to advocate for what you believe in. Because I know myself, I've been told to be quiet about what I want to advocate about and what I want to speak about, and I want to help other people find the space I'm in now where they can advocate for what they believe in and what they think is true.
Couldn't be better said for youth leaders of the future, for sure. Finding your voice and being able to use it for good.
Could I say one more
No
thing?
question. Please, Brenden.
I think we can also bring in some adult leaders that went to our summit and how they are implementing the ideas we gave them, and kind of how our action plan is working out, and receive feedback on that based off what they're doing and how it's working out.
That's excellent. Great job. So thank you, Brenden, Rylie, and Sara, for this illuminating discussion. I hope that our discussion has helped you understand the realities of youth mental health today and some of the exciting work being led by these youth themselves to address these concerns. Like me, I hope you are inspired by this new generation of leaders and activists working with their peers to improve youth mental well-being. So Rylie, can you remind me again about the summit, when it is, and how people can sign up?
So the summit is May 19th, next Monday. It is at URI, and you can sign up online, like Brenden said.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyone is welcome.
Yes. The more, the merrier. The better that makes it. Thank you so much. So, finally, if you or someone you know needs to connect with a crisis counselor or for emotional support or services, know that you can count on calling 988 and getting the help that you need 24/7, 365 days a year. Or you can text the crisis text line at 741-741. So the crisis text line is something that young people turn to often. It is also available 24/7, 365, and many young people feel more comfortable using the text line than calling someone on the phone. And so it's something that all youth should have in their phones so they can use it or share it with a friend. So thank you all for joining us. We're so glad that you could be here today.